Dan Evans was a young engineer, and he had an interest in marine engineering, and he was fascinated by all aspects of engineering, and I think it just grabbed him and never left him. Arthur Deakin came from a very different background to Dan. He came from a very commercial background. His father was an entrepreneur in Australia, came from America. Arthur took the spirit of his father and was the only member of his family who did. Dan Evans and Arthur Deakin joined together in 1911 to form the business Evans Deakin. They started the business with £3,000 each and must have had some idea of what they were initially going to do with that to try to make that grow. Evans Deakin acquiring Binny's, which was an engineering workshop in South Brisbane, was in retrospect a very big step for the company. It was a way to move into much bigger contracts and much bigger operation machinery deals, and to be able to repair and devise things. And Binny's was also gave Dan his first proper workshop. You know, it was big for him. Evans Deakin started to see that there was a much bigger opportunity than they may have dreamt of even in 1911. They saw that they had a role in the heavy industry development in Queensland. Although it began seriously in 1925-26. The Queensland government were keen to develop railway stock in Queensland. So Dan and Arthur had discussions with the Queensland government, and they decided that they needed a bigger premise somewhere. And they finally decided on Rocklea in Brisbane. And because they needed workshops where they could build these locomotives close to the rail line, was the start of a big rolling stock push by the company, and I think was supported by the Queensland government at that time. I think the Story Bridge really put Evans Deakin on the map around Australia in particular and around the world. But in Brisbane, it became the icon of the city. The awarding of the tender for the Story Bridge was a marriage of engineering brilliance and commercial wizardry. The government, Australian government and Queensland government, realised that they needed to do something about ships because there was no merchant navy in that sense. Evans Deakin was asked if it would consider this. They had never built ships before. Dan said to the drafts people in the office, "Get down to the library and check out how to build these things." Evans Deakin built 17 corvettes from 1942 to 1945, and in fact built more than any other shipyard in Australia, and built them faster than any other shipyard in Australia. Evans Deakin constructed 82 ships from the period 1941 to 1975. The Robert Miller ship was the largest ship built by Evans Deakin, and it was, I think, 37,000 tonne ship, which was enormous. I think one of the really notable things that Evans Deakin did throughout its period was to regard the workers as an integral part of the operation. So they set up the Evans Deakin Welfare Club, and it provided sick leave entitlement to workers. They provided up to 20 weeks sick leave. It provided ambulance cover for workers at the operation. It provided bursaries for workers' children. It provided apprenticeships. So EDCO was a very strong part of the organisation. They had sport teams in every sport and lots of social events. From 1926 to 1975, there were over 1,800 apprentices trained at Evans Deakin. And the training took years. It was said that an EDCO worker was probably in every major company in Queensland because they were considered to be so highly trained.
The rolling stock business has been very important for Evans Deakin since its acquisition of Walkers, and we've seen every electric passenger train in Queensland until recently, and all of them in Perth, being constructed at Walkers in Maryborough with the EDI badge. Since then, we've seen heavy-duty diesel electric locomotives being built, and you'll see them to this day hauling heavy freight trains from Brisbane to North Queensland daily. Evans Deakin wasn't a company that acquired by takeover too often. Clyde looked like a fantastic acquisition to broaden the company's horizons, not only in rolling stock but in other facets of engineering. There was a fortunate circumstance for us in that there was a large shareholding held by the family in Clyde, and we were able to get them to sell their shares, and it was then a matter of a short time before we had control of the company. Evans Deakin was going through a period of low profitability and serious criticism from institutional investors. I think the company was starting to turn around, but the Downer Group saw an opportunity here which wasn't to be missed. The majority of the rolling stock business transferred from Evans Deakin into the new entity. So all of that was expanded and still lives on to this day.
The legacy of Evans Deakin is to have made Queenslanders proud of their growth and what they were able to achieve. Also, I think the legacy is that they were able to employ and train thousands and thousands of workers in Queensland.
I think the rise of Evans Deakin for Queenslanders made us a very proud state when we were always criticised heavily by southern states on just exactly what sort of expertise existed north of the Tweed. Evans Deakin is Queensland's most significant heavy engineering business.
During its life, Evans Deakin was a very proud Queensland company.